As solid of a design as the F4F Wildcat was, before we'd even gotten into the war, before the first bomb fell, before the first shot was fired, we knew that it was not going to be modern enough for the coming war. So in 1940 in Bethpage, the Grumman Company started doing drawings of a new aircraft, a replacement for the Wildcat, kind of a super Wildcat. They looked at the things that could be seen as deficiencies. They looked at the things that were archaic, and they said, how can we make this the most modern fighter we can to give to the US Navy? We want to give them a plane that is superior to every other military Navy aircraft right now. So by the time they were finished, they'd come up with this, the F6F Hellcat. And it has a lot of nicknames, but the one I like the most is Ace Maker. Earlier I spoke about the kill to loss ratio and why that's so important. In all wars are wars of attrition. They all boil down to how much damage you can do to the enemy versus how much damage he's giving you. As I mentioned before, the kill to loss ratio on the Wildcat was about 1-to-1. Maybe it's slightly better than that, but that's about it. This aircraft had a 17-to-1 victory ratio. If you were flying this, the chances were, yes, you're going to make it home every day, and the chances that the enemy, they weren't. These things would take off. 17-to-1 means for every one lost, the enemy lost a squadron and a half of their frontline aircraft. And remember, we also have rescue. So our pilots, even if we do lose the pilot, we've got Catalinas scouring the battle surface looking for downed pilots. I knew many Hellcat pilots, including more than a few ace in a day. Those are pilots that on one flight or on a single day managed to shoot down 5 of the enemy. That's just not a statistic that carries through to any other aircraft type. Hellcats just basically wiped the Japanese Air Force and Navy out of the sky wherever they came into contact. I don't know of any battle where the Hellcat had a negative kill to loss ratio. They just didn't. So it has a larger engine. It's got the 2800 in there. That is about 2.5 times the power of a Wildcat. It has 6 50 calibers. As you can see, it's a carrier aircraft. The wings fold up. You can fit a whole lot of these on a carrier. And they were apparently very easy to fly. I never had a pilot tell me any sort of a quirk, or with the Corsair, there's always a few funny stories that come out of a pilot who flew those. Nothing like that with the Hellcat. These were just absolutely perfect for the war years. This was the perfect aircraft for the time. Of all the Hellcats built, ours is somewhat special because we know it was not intended for the war. When it was built, it probably was. They didn't build any extras. Any Hellcats, any aircraft built by Grumman was built for a contract for the Navy. But an interesting thing happens. Not every aircraft at the date that it's completed is accepted by the military. You would think they would need every aircraft, but sometimes they would take them up for their acceptance flight, and maybe that aircraft that's supposed to be certified for 350 miles an hour, for some reason it just wouldn't goose past 320. So you don't want to give that to a squadron and realize one of your aircraft can't keep up with the rest. So if there was an aircraft on the production line that for whatever reason didn't quite meet all the military specs, it's not like they're going to throw it away. It's still a flyable aircraft. They would give it to the military for other uses. It would be an off-contract aircraft. We believe ours is one of those. It never had 6 machine guns. It was built at the factory with 6 holes, but never installed 6 machine guns. The outboard gun on both wings is missing, and it's been covered over. Now that's something you would do on a training aircraft. That's something you would do because there's no reason to have 6 machine guns if you're just practicing shooting a target. So it makes sense that if you have an aircraft that isn't quite up to speed, literally, give them to a training command. There was a whole set of Corsairs built by the Brewster Company. None of them passed. They had to send all of the Brewster Corsairs off and just use them for training. So we think that situation is something close to what happened with our Hellcat. Now there's another thing that sets it apart. It's not just that it's got less guns than most Hellcats. It has some very interesting damage. The damage on the cowling was caused when this aircraft was used for overload landing testing over at North Island, just across the bay. So at one point late in the war, they wanted to basically quantify how much weight could the Hellcat carry. The way you do that is you just keep packing on more weight. In this case, it had drop tanks. They were putting boxes of tools in the back. They were overloading it to see just how much weight the landing gear and the airframe could take. Now, I don't know how they picked the pilot for that job. It would not have been a very fun set of flights, but we know how it ended, and luckily it didn't end in a crash. What it ended with was a very hard flex on the whole engine mount. The engine almost ripped off on one of those overweight landings, and after that they realized we just bent the frame on our Hellcat. So that was the last flight it ever had, and it became a museum piece after that. We have it in the markings of one of our former directors here, an old friend of ours. So when you come through, look him up. He's a really neat guy.